Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and let's get the title of the video out of the way pretty quickly. So, the easy way to farm crowns, no matter what size they are, is you go to the arena once you've opened it up in the upper right-hand corner of the map, use your binoculars, and see if you see a crown. If you don't see a crown, then you teleport to Suja, because there's no base camps to select, so you load in. As soon as you load in, you teleport back to the arena. Check again. And you just keep repeating this process. I've got the footage in the background accelerated at 3 times speed because this took about 10 minutes to get the crown for it. And once you actually see one with the crown, you can either turn it into an investigation, which I do to hold on to it so that I can share it with a buddy of mine. But you don't have to do that. You can just go ahead and straight up fight it. You'll get the crown and you're good to go. And of course you can tell from the size on it whether it's a giant crown or a small crown, which I guess doesn't really matter unless you're specifically farming for one or the other. That's it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to continue watching the video from this point on if you just were wondering how that method worked. It kind of bothered me that there were a bunch of videos on this, but none of them really just said the whole thing up front. They all rambled on for a little while. So now that I've told you how to do it, now I'm going to ramble on for a little bit. So, I've been releasing videos for Monster Hunter about daily, and what I'm trying to do at this point is come up with a sort of schedule to get back to having a little bit more of a diverse input on the channel. So, the initial wave of Monster Hunter release is pretty much died down at this point. There is the title update coming out, and I would suspect that anytime there's a title update, I will have a few more videos on it than normal, just to fit in everything from the title update. But I'm not really going to post multiple in a day. What I'm going to do, though, is try to do... I would like to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but the event quests always release on Tuesday, so it'll probably be Sunday, Tuesday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Friday. Something like that. More or less 3 a week. And not 3 videos on Monster Hunter necessarily. The middle week and the end of the week video will be on Monster Hunter. So, what I'm going to do... The midweek video will be event quest and those sort of things, like giving the update on what's going on with that. And the Friday one will consistently be some sort of gameplay video. That could be in the form of a challenge run or some other footage, like let's say one of the updates has too much stuff to really release videos for in 1 or 2 days. So that could be a makeup for that. And that's not saying that there won't be videos on other days. Very well could release any sort of video. If it's ready to go up, it'll be ready to go up, and I'll post it on that day. It's just I'm going to try to have a few consistent days where things come out. So where does that leave the Sunday footage? I'm going to try to rotate in some other games, because one trap that a lot of YouTube channels fall into is having just one thing that they specialize in. Well, I don't really think that's a problem so far with this one, because the first several videos I uploaded have absolutely nothing to do with gameplay. But I'm actually enjoying doing video games, so at least one day a week is going to be dedicated to doing something different. Whether those games get played again or not, will at least partly depend on the views. Like, just being honest here. At the end of the day, part of the reason I'm doing all this stuff is to try to attract viewers. So, if something actually seems to catch on, it may get more than one day a week. But Monster Hunter will always be part of it, simply because I actually really enjoy Monster Hunter. And if Monster Hunter didn't exist, I probably wouldn't be doing gameplay footage at all. Now, other than that, if I have enough footage recorded to do more than, say, a video a day, stuff might pop up. But otherwise, this is trying to get to a consistent release schedule, and one that actually has a little bit of predictability to it. The only other series that I've sort of started, if you want to call it a series, would be the mediocre weapons guides, which are a bit of a joke, but that's still just kind of fun. So those will pop up whenever I feel like I've got enough ideas on how to do one to link a couple different weapons together in a kind of silly way. And those will just drop up probably on an off day. But Wednesday, event quest updates. Friday, more than likely we'll be switching to the challenge run, which I'll go over the rules that I'm going to use for that here in just a second. Right now, by the way, you're seeing the footage of me actually fighting the Zuwu that is a crown. And it'll play through and show the size measurements and stuff at the end to prove that it is actually a crown monster, so it rewards the crown. Now, let's actually discuss what I mean by a challenge run. So, I'm going to put on the screen what I mean by the rules for a challenge run. So first, no upgrading armor. In other words, I can use basic armor, but I cannot use armor spheres to upgrade it. No max weapon upgrades. In other words, any weapon used has to be at least one slot back from what the maximum would be on the tree at that time. So I'm not saying I just can't use rarity 8 weapons. I'm saying I cannot use anything past, like, say if there's 3 upgrades available for the first weapon in whatever tree it is, I can only use the first 2. Can't use the third one. Rotate weapons on cart, so if I cart, switch to the next weapon. No repeating a weapon. In other words, I have to work my way through all the weapons before I can start back again. No decos or pendants. The idea is I can only use the basic armor, and that's the only way I can gain skills between the armor and weapons. Can't really say no skills with the way weapons work in this game, but I'm not really trying to make the hardest challenge run possible. I'm just trying to figure out a way to tweak the base game to make it a little bit harder without making it one of these, like, no death, no armor, no hit Dark Souls challenge runs. This is just a way to make the game a little bit more spicy. Palico only, because pulling in the SOS flare for the mercenaries is actually, I don't know, it's arguable as to which one's easier, but the Palico also can't have its gear upgraded. So there's a limit to how good the Palico is ever going to be. With a little asterisk in the sense that it can have the most basic either hammer or, well, cutting or blunt weapon possible. Like, as long as it's not actually getting a boost in attack, then it's fine. It's not really considered an upgrade. It's just a side grade. Secret can't be used to bail you out of a death. So, in other words, I'm not going to go, like if I get pinned down or something, I can't have the secret bail me out. All I can use it for is transport, because let's be honest, the distances in these games and the distance that the monsters move is actually pretty far. So it would just slow things down unnecessarily. You'd have a whole lot of random fast forwarding in the video. And I can sharpen and heal when moving between the areas on the secret. Since you can do those, well, you can't really sharpen while walking, but this is just to keep dead time down to a minimum. Because pretty much everyone sharpens when a monster moves areas, and whether you would rather watch me do it on the secret or just standing still, it comes to the same effect. There's no threat if there's nothing around. And a little asterisk that other rules can be added as needed, but not to make the game easier. If I decide to add anything else, it's to make it a little bit harder. And I was actually considering that at one point, because I've been working on getting the footage for this down, and it took pretty long time to hit my first actual cart, even with these restrictions in place. And then I kind of reminded myself that I'm still working my way through low rank, so it's kind of unreasonable to expect, even with these restrictions for low rank, to result in a whole lot of carts until you get a ways into it. But it does eventually happen. And so I'm like, okay, it's going to start getting interesting at this point, and sure enough, it kind of does. So we'll see. Those will start popping up here soon once I've had a chance to really sit down and edit the first one together, because first was going to require doing a whole lot of fast forwarding the footage. It just takes a little bit before anything actually happens. Also, I'm going to be skipping as many cinematics and fast forwarding through as much dialogue as possible, because that's not what anyone's watching to see what happens. So look for that to start soon, and that'll take the place of the main walkthrough, because I'll add in walkthrough videos as new stuff is added, and do a couple of those here and there to cover just various monsters under normal circumstances. But, well, it's not really a walkthrough, it's a playthrough. And let me correct myself. I'm not guiding anyone on anything. I'm just showing people me playing it. But those will pop up here and there as I kind of have the time to put them together. But the challenge is kind of going to take place of the regular AMP, because, why wouldn't it? It's probably going to be more interesting to watch. Anyway, that's me rambling for a little while. Have a good night. I'll let the footage of me fighting the tempered new Udra finish playing out. But otherwise, have a good night, and remember, if I can beat it, so can you.
Cleanse that status. Nicely done, Hunter. Glad you're in one piece.